There had to be other Jedi that survived Order 66, right?
Alrighty guys, so there is the beginning portion here. I'm just making a platform for my MOC as I'm going to go ahead and start using tan and dark tan. I'm getting an idea of this rock structure that I'm going to build on the side here. I'm just using it towards the front and the back right side of the MOC, that rock structure. The rest I'm going to try and make look like a beach here. But I went ahead and did snot technique for the rocks on the side. That will be covered up with some more rocks here in a moment. I'm using tan and dark tan pieces that are directly from my Ryloth MOC as I'm pulling them off. And I'm kind of limited to the design of that just because of the fact that I have so much dark tan and tan, but I think this looks great regardless. What I would do for an island anyway. I wanted to get the terrain and this island complete, so that way we can go ahead and start putting lots of detail onto our island here. It's just a small island that this Jedi found in exile after Execute Order 66 phase went down with Palpatine. This Jedi left and fled the Jedi Temple after they got the distress signal from Obi-Wan saying, "Do not come back to the Jedi Temple as it is a trap." This Jedi was already en route to the temple but decided they don't know where to go from there. After being contacted by Obi-Wan, they decided to move towards the outer rim and they found this island. So I really like the snot technique so far, but I was just showing those pieces because we need to get some more rocks built up on the side there, and that's what I'm using, that yellow snot there. Once it gets started, you can kind of move along like this, and that's why it was so easy for me. But the biggest thing was I should have implemented that piece prior to doing the snot, and I didn't want to go back and break all of that down, so I just went ahead and used a different piece to get the snot going, and then getting the rocks on top of that to form and look good. We went ahead and tiled off some of that with dark tan, which I enjoy. I think it looks really good down there at the bottom. There's a little bit of imprints there in the sand that I like. And I went ahead and added some life here. So I had these pieces from the pab wall. I want to say I got these relatively soon of building this MOC, and I went ahead and implemented these because it does add a little bit of color, a little bit of vegetation to the island. The island I don't think is just barren with just sand, and so I think it makes sense to add some vegetation here. I put these flowers in the centerpieces as some of them have bloomed, and you'll see some of the flowers have not bloomed. And I wanted to add that detail to it. Also, this side of that MOC was going to be where the hut is going to be for our Jedi. It's going to have just a little island hut, and I want the life to be shown on one side of the MOC because the adversaries or the antagonists that you're going to see coming up the beach, there isn't going to be much life of any. Obviously just a little bit of those leaves there, but I really wanted to separate that look because really the Jedi stand for peace and life and all good things, and then the opposite in the sense of probably going to be Sith would be representing the darkness and death and all of that stuff. And I added a little porg there because I love porgs, so sorry if you guys hate porgs. I just think it'd be cool to add a little porg there. But I wanted to, show the yin and yang of the Jedi and the Sith and not just show life everywhere. I want to show that life follows the Jedi, and so that's just kind of what I decided to do. I started building the hut here, and I wanted to go for like a round or a hexagon or octagon look here. And I think it's looking really good with these tile pieces that I'm using in the dark bluish gray to kind of round it off. And as you see towards the end here, guys, I had to struggle a while on the roof. For me, there was a lot of different designs. I have that piece up there because originally I was going to do the roof with like basically a haystack type of thing where we would have pieces pulling off of that piece to go ahead and bring the roof. I had an issue right there with some of the tile pieces not showing or showing the yellow and not hiding the yellow, and that was kind of my biggest flaw with that. I didn't really like that, so I went working on that a little bit later and doing 1x3s to kind of cover up most of that yellow because I don't want it peeking through. Obviously if it's a little bit, I'm not going to see that in the video of the final that we'll go over here in a moment or any of the photos that I take of the MOC, but still wanted to kind of hide that there. And then also the biggest thing for me is the roof, and I want it to look natural. I want it to look like something you would see on this island, and I think I went through probably 4 or 5 different designs for that roof, and that was kind of one of the biggest things for me. That was a really big struggle on this MOC, and I think it really boils down to piece. I didn't have all the pieces I wanted. I think if I had all the brown pieces I wanted or green pieces I wanted, I would have went with something like this, to show, you know, kind of like the straw off of the top, and I would have used some diagonal pieces and some angled pieces to go in between those pieces. However, I did not have those pieces, so I had to get really creative here. I'm just kind of trying everything when it comes to this roof, and in just a few moments I just completely scratched the idea of doing like a straw, and I just thought, well, honestly, there has to be some sort of trees here, and we can, you know, infer that, or just say that these aren't maybe trees but they're leaves collected from all of the plants in the nearby area. I went ahead and just did this. So I like the hut topping with that, you know, light bluish gray there. I added my Jedi there with a Jedi archive book there, which was important for me to add there, I think. And then the biggest thing here is you have the Inquisitor, and I put 2 Shadow Troopers because Shadow Troopers personally are my favorite. Went over this house here. I think it looks good with the trees and plants the way it is, but I do think that future reference, I will do the straw. It's just not having the pieces. I still think it looks great though. And the little panel there for the Jedi to go back inside to the hut.